Are you ready? Everybody ready? I think we're all ready to go. We'll get started. This time I'll call the September 11th, 2023 meeting to order and welcome everybody in attendance. Thank you all for being here. At this time, if you will rise with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we will have a presentation from Polk County Middle School.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to turn the floor over to Principal Adam Dedman, and you can introduce your folks.
Come on up, guys. Okay, Miss Reinhardt is out sick today and she wanted to be here, but she really wishes I'm going to read her part here for the bridge building team at Polk County Middle School. I would like to introduce the 2023 North Carolina DOT Model Bridge Building State Champions for the Middle School Division. Their winning bridge weighed in under 30 grams and held 32.31 pounds, besting all bridges present, both middle and high school. We would like to recognize our members: Emma Blomley, Master Designer and Builder; Alexis Carroll; Adriana Twitty; Natalie Klimstra; Jared Contreras Aguilera; Talon Martin; and Ryan Blomley. Our skit writers, skit performers, and paper contributors. It was a team effort. We would also like to thank Wesley Lawson from Fields LLC, who graciously took the simple bridge pictures we sent him and designed a fabulous poster, which you see right here. We are unable to use in our skit, which is now displayed in our STEM room for students to see. He also surprised the team members with a smaller version for them to take home. We would also like to thank everyone who made our trip to Raleigh possible for funding our trip. The bridge competition team takes a long commitment from the students and teaches them about engineering, physics, patience, public speaking, and learning to work together as a team. Thank you for how you continue to support the students in our county. Now I would like for them to say a little bit about their part in the bridge building competition. Emma, would you like to start? Okay.
I designed and built this bridge. This isn't the final version. This is one version of the prototype of it. This is actually the final version, which is the one that went to state. It has been repaired, but there's still damage on it. We drew out the bridge and used this like blueprint to build it. Cool. Sorry, not exactly sure how to describe it. It was. Sorry.
You're fine. Natalie, will you tell a little bit about how it works for the bridge building competition?
So first, we basically took a piece, like a giant piece of construction paper, and measured everything out, made sure everything was very precise before we started building. And me and Emma actually competed between two different bridges that we built out of straws and glue gun to see which one worked best. And she actually won, and I'm very glad she did because it served out well for us. So we drew it out and made all the measurements. And Ms. Reinhardt did send the blueprints to the guy that made the posters, and they were really pretty. But and then we constructed it and brought it to state, and it really paid off. And I'm really excited about that. So you guys can tell us about the skit that we did.
Go ahead.
So what I did is I helped write the skit, and I also interviewed Jared, the mathematician, about how triangles help support the bridge. And I also interviewed the farmer on how bridges are important and on how they help. Okay. During the skit, I was an interviewer, and I interviewed both Emma Bloney and Natalie Crenshaw about how they constructed the bridge and how they designed it.
Tell a bit about your part.
I was the original farmer, but something came up, so I couldn't go to state. So we had Ryan do it, but unfortunately he had a soccer game, so he did not be here. But he was the farmer for the thing.
Jared is not here today, but he did have a part as a mathematician to show how triangles support bridges better than other materials that have been, or other shapes that have been used across history versus like arches, and squares and all those other shapes.
As you can see in this bridge.
Yeah. And Talon, if he was at state, he would have given us a briefing about how different materials have been used to build bridges throughout history, from probably the earliest bridges we probably built out of like I don't know, like
Dirt,
mud,
stone, and wood,
clay,
stuff like that.
all that stuff. And then now we have more advanced technology, so we can actually use like really strong metal and different types of materials to build bridges today.
Natalie, can you explain to them how the competition works, the way?
So can I buy this, Talon?
Sure.
So what we did, you can help. So what we did is this: they took a kind of like a drill bit, and they put it through here and screwed it on, and then they had a bucket underneath hanging on the drill bit, and they filled that with sand until it broke. And it was very nerve-wracking then. I was gonna run out of sand. What are we gonna do? It was really nerve-wracking. Yeah.
You can see that sort of right here in the middle is where it broke, which is right what you want, because that means that the rest of it is stable and it didn't collapse from a weak point, it just collapsed from the weight itself.
All right. Polk County Middle School state champion.
One quick question. I know you guys remember every math test you've ever taken, right? It's been very interesting. What did you remember about going down and being a part of that competition at the state level? I'd love to hear just one comment from each of you.
I think it was probably like sitting there and letting the reality sink in that we were actually in Raleigh and doing this. Like, I didn't imagine like a little middle school from Polk County to go up to that level. It's really great.
I could say the same thing. I mean, it was pretty fun being in Raleigh. I mean, we're just like this little school and we're at this big thing and we won. So I thought that was pretty crazy. I'd say it was same as in fun, but one thing that wasn't fun was reading the skit because it was kind of hard because using one of these big words.
It's nerve-wracking.
All right, proud mama wants to say something.
So we have a small team here, and the other schools that they competed against, like the high school level, they had like real classes that this was all they did for a whole semester. And our little team won by over 10 pounds.
That's awesome. What do you mean to you?
It was fun going down there and doing it. It was definitely a nice experience because you got to see all these sites in Raleigh and go somewhere that you never thought you would. I honestly didn't think we were going to do that well because, as they all said, we are a small school versus those big schools with all the giant teams. But it was fun to see how our bridge managed to surpass them by a large amount. They honestly actually seemed really impressed.
What about you?
Well, like I said, I was not able to go to the state because I had something else, but
Talon, you were in drama.
Yeah, John's
He
playing.
was gonna play.
Tell her what.
Another great experience you'll remember more than your math test.
it was great.
Good. But being on the team, right, it was fun.
Yes, being on the team was definitely a great learning experience for all of us.
Well, I know I speak on behalf of the board. Go ahead.
I have one last question. So you guys did an amazing job. Did the NC DOT try and hire you? I mean, what was the secret? Why do you think your design did so much better?
It's a lot about how the triangles on the bridge design distribute the weight. Since the weight is mainly right here, Miss Reinhardt helped me sort of pick how these triangles then bring the weight back up and then sort of all distribute down to these points, which is where you want it. And that is partially how it was able to hold so much weight because it distributed up over the whole bridge.
Well, say it quietly. I didn't want you to lose your secret recipe.
That's right.
They
Right.
should have hired
Yeah,
us.
they probably will.
Mr. Chair, I just do want to add how much I appreciate Leslie Reinhardt and the fact that this Board of Education has always supported that local position to have STEM instruction going on in our middle school. It's a great thing for our kids. So thank you to the board and a big thank you to Leslie Reinhardt for her efforts in leading that team.
Guys, well done. I mean, again, like you said, little Polk County.
Yep.
Yeah. Pop up. Congratulations. Well done.
Well, guys, we would love to have you hang around for the rest of this exciting meeting. You don't have to do that. And I say thank you to the parents and families as well for getting them here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
That's awesome. Proud of you guys. Hey, good to see y'all.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, everybody.
Sign, I guess. Yeah, thank you, guys. No, thank you. Have a great time, guys. Thank you.
That is
That's pretty impressive.
and they the high school too, right? By 10,000.
Yeah, not just by a little bit.
By 30%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Good stuff. All right, folks, moving along, the next thing we have on the agenda is the approval of the August 14th minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review, and do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the August 14th, 2023 minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All right, have a motion and a second. Imagine there's no further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries 6-0. Moving now along under instructional, first item we have here is the opening of school update. Mr. Green.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to reiterate to you guys, I felt like it was a pretty good opening for Polk County schools. We certainly aren't encountering some of the issues that a lot of districts around us are. We have actually every bus route covered. We haven't had to park a bus yet that I'm aware of this year. For not having a driver, we've had one bust the radiator hose we had to park, but you know, that's really big for us given the struggles we had with that over the last year. Also, from a positional standpoint, I think we're down to probably one or two positions that don't have the licensed person in that role for that position. But again, there are districts out there. I think Charlotte next last, they're a little bigger than us, but their last count was 354 positions they had not filled. And so I feel very fortunate that we have a good reputation here and that people like working here with us. So I was glad to see that that's where we're at. A couple of positions we need to fill. We'll have some resignations and some turnover here and there, but overall it's a good start. And we are at 2,195 students, which is still an increase in our enrollment. Now that doesn't include our pre-K, which we do put them in the mix there. But our biggest gains did pan out being what we told you the first meeting, which are Polk Central and Polk High. Those are your two biggest areas of growth. Some of you lost a few kids, which happens up there from time to time. You've got classes that come in, some of you that are big, and then next year they won't be very big. And so you ebb and flow a little bit, but pleased to see that enrollment there when other districts are seeing a decline in that as well. Last thing I'll tell you is that I really appreciate the families and the community that have been very supportive of our schools, making sure that they were patient with us during car lines and those things, but also understanding our shift of our calendar and really have not heard any negative things as a result of that. Just really feel like it was a great start to the year overall. And a big thank you to all of our staff, our principals, our district office staff for making that go over smoothly.
And so far, it looks like we see a little increase, maybe, ADM?
I think so. I think so. And, that second month, you have to get through the first 2 months before you can hang your hat on it. But I hope so.
Fantastic. Any questions, comments from Mr. Green? All right then, moving along, we now have the federal consolidated application plans for 2023, 2024. Ms. Crum.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure to be with you and just bringing to you tonight to share with you our federal funding for our Title I consolidated plans. That encompasses Title I, Title II, and Title IV expenditures. So as always, we are continuing to use this money primarily to pay salaries of our intervention teams. Those are the teachers and the assistants that work at the elementary schools and pull students to work on reading strategies and ELA activities. So that's where the primary amount of our funding goes to pay those salaries. But also we do several other things. We also fund some of the pre-K programming that takes place in the county, summer remediation programs, professional development for our teachers, specifically in the areas of Orton-Gillingham training and Leatherland training. That's two of the phonics programs that we use at our elementary schools. So we use PD money to pay for those trainings, and then also some administrative costs. So you can see the breakdown that I provided here for you, so you can see those items. One of the things I really love is our district-wide initiative that we are continuing. We purchased books from Scholastic, and at the end of the school year, every student, preschool through 5th grade, gets to take home 5 books for their home library sets. And students who need to attend summer school or are specifically at risk get an additional 10 books. So they have 15 books that they take home to keep to read over the summer. And as you know, reading to students and reading to children really makes great literacy gains in school. So just having books to access in your home is really important for those students. So really, if you are a child who just comes through and never goes to summer school, you can actually have about 35 books by the time that you have left 5th grade. And if you are someone who came through summer school, that number could be up anywhere to almost 95 books from the time you started preschool all the way through 5th grade. So I love that initiative. Also in Title II, we use that Title II money to fund 2 of our teachers' teaching positions to help reduce class size. And then in Title IV, you have to split the money 3 ways. So we spend part of that money on well-rounded educational opportunities. And once again, some of that money is also used for the Scholastic book bundles that we buy for our students that attend summer school. The second category is safe and healthy students, and we purchased the Remind app so we can communicate with our parents through the Remind app. And then the third one is effective use of technology. And this year we purchased the K-8 Math IXL program, and that also has a math screener component that we're able to do some diagnostic assessments with our students, and our teachers have been pleased with that platform so far. So that's what we're doing to use our consolidated funding for this year, and be glad to entertain any questions you may have.
Questions for Ms. Crum?
Mr. Chair, I'll just add, again, anybody who's ever navigated around that online system and worked with federal programs at the state level knows what a opportunity it is to develop patience and leadership skills. But I want to thank Jan Crump and her Title I staff. They do a tremendous job with these federal programs, and Debbie as well. So thank you, Ms. Lovelace and Ms. Crump for doing it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Folks, this is an action item. We'll be looking for a motion and a second for approval.
I move that we approve it.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now to the 2023-2024 testing calendar. Ms. Hamlin.
Good evening. It's good to be with you, and it's especially great to hear evidence of the wonderful things that's happening at Polk County schools. I'm going to share data with you, but the example from the middle school is the heart and the joy of education in Polk County. So glad to be here with you. This first link that is in the presentation is our 2023-24 testing calendar. This just outlines it's what we give our staff in all of the schools so they can see the test, a description of them, who's involved in the testing, which grade levels, is it required by the state versus a vendor test. So this is outlined for the entire school year. If you'll notice, I'm a visual person, so something that we did with the elementary and middle principals, Dr. Schweitzer, if you'll scroll just a little bit and click on the link where it says academic calendar view.
So we worked with elementary and middle principals to just place these assessments on the calendar so we could ensure that students weren't being bombarded with tests back to back to back. So you'll notice how we placed our check-ins and the beginning of grade, the COGAT. This is just sort of an internal extra thing that we did, but I thought it might be helpful for you to see on a calendar view of, real life holidays and such. So it's linked on there as well. And we can now move to the second link of the presentation. Dr. Schweitzer, if you'll move to the second slide. And if you'll click on the testing information link. This link is additional information about each one of those assessments. There are links to DPI's websites that give you the test specifications and all the details. This is just another resource that we share with faculty members. It's sort of monotonous of what's on the other, but just more detailed views. That's linked in there for you as well. And now we'll dig down into the data. Let me just share with you. Recent testing that we've had in Polk County is the beginning of grade 3 test, reading test, the cognitive abilities test, September 5th through 6th. That is administered to grade 4 for the purposes of identifying students for our academic intelligence program. Upcoming test on the radar, just in October alone, we have Read to Achieve test for a very limited number of 4th grade students who are what is labeled as reading retained. They are 3rd grade students who did not meet the Read to Achieve requirements, so they have been promoted to 4th grade with a label of reading retained. So they'll have another opportunity to take the Read to Achieve test and demonstrate proficiency. And then at that time, the principal makes a decision of how to move forward with that student. They'll provide lots of instruction and intervention throughout their 4th grade year in hopes of filling in those gaps. At high school level, there's the PSAT being administered on October 11th. North Carolina check-ins for grades 3 to 8 are the testing window of October 16th to 20th. So that is reading, math, and science for grades 5 and 8. And then back to the high school for pre-ACT on October 25th. So lots of happenings in the testing world. And now we'll move into the test results for the 2022-23 school year. This is information that I shared previously with you through email last week. But now I have an opportunity to go over the results together and have an opportunity for you to ask questions. So this is are the performance grades and the school growth by each school.
Do you need me to navigate somewhere?
There, yeah, try going back. Okay, click on the link that says. So some highlights, Polk County Early College is our, received an A. That's incredible. Polk County Schools is still performing in the top 5 schools in the state of North Carolina for grade level proficiency, which are students who scored levels 3, 4, and 5. That's typically where we do our reporting from because that's grade level proficiency. We ranked number 5 in the state of North Carolina. For college and career readiness, which is levels 4 and 5, we ranked number 4. That's incredible. If you'll click on statewide ranking, Dr. Schweitzer. So this shows you the school systems that were ranked higher than us. Chapel Hill, Union, Watauga. Is it Watauga? Watauga, Tomato, tomato. And then, yeah, right below, that's grade level proficient. We can click on the state and regional comparison tab next. And
This is the document that you're used to seeing. These are all of our neighboring counties and how we perform in relation to kids who are very similar, live in a similar part of the region that we do. And you can see how we perform in comparison to those counties. So we're leading in the #1 position in most of the indicators. You'll notice that some areas for growth would be in math, certainly the middle school and high school level. And now we can click on and move to state results. These are the CCR, that's the college career readiness and grade level proficiency, the last 2 columns. These are the state's numbers in all of those categories. And then one tab over, Dr. Schweitzer, and have to flick over to the right. Those are Polk County schools. It's a drill down of all of our level 3s, 4s, 5s, and the kiddos who have not proficient. So what questions do you have about our data? That I hope, well, let me start by saying we are meeting with principals and we have already begun the conversations for analyzing the data. This is not a job just for myself or Mr. Green or Ms. Crump or Dr. Schweitzer. We have to bring the principals and in turn they'll bring in the teachers to these conversations to really drill down and understand what's happening and use this data to take action. We just leave the data on the table, it's not going to be a benefit to us. So we're going to drill down and work with principals and teachers to determine what are our next steps in Polk County for closing in some of the gaps that COVID has left behind.
So these scores are compared to pre-COVID scores. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was mumbling about that. I'll not to put you on the spot, but you know, we had some hold harmless and some other things talked about in terms of what it was compared to with the SAS data. What was growth compared to? Was there some type of factor? And SAS went back 2 years prior after the pandemic was over and monkeyed with the formulas a little bit. And so, unless I'm way off base, this is the first year we're really taking a look back at what those growth projections would have been pre-pandemic. And so what you're seeing is school systems that are continuing to struggle a little bit with the gaps in there. But yeah, so it's not like last year where we were comparing ourselves to a year that, for lack of a better way to say it, was a little bit gracious.
All right.
In terms of what they were calculating. Whereas this year is back to pretty much the bare bones comparison.
So I guess for me I celebrate that we're still ranked in the top 5 in these categories, but to have an A, 3 Bs, and 3 Cs, that's just an indicator of where everybody is now. Is that correct? Just lower?
Well,
I mean, why would we have had those same scores 3 years ago?
We're not used to not meeting growth, and we're not necessarily used to making Cs. And I can tell you that's something that will drive our schools and our staff members to do better. I do think that we're all struggling with, for lack of a better way to say it, a different type of student and a different type of engagement than maybe pre-pandemic, and we can sugarcoat that if we want. It's not an excuse because everybody else is having to deal with the same thing. But for us, I think, you know, in this regard, it's going to be very much a conversation with our principals and our staff that C's not good enough for us. Not meeting your growth is not good enough because at the end of the day, those test scores are reflective of students, not just numbers on a piece of paper. Right? So that's our commitment. I think that we have to make sure that we hold steadfast. Overall, I'm not displeased, but we're certainly not pleased. We don't like being here. We'd rather be first or second, or maybe third's okay. We don't like being 4th and 5th. But I was pleased to see our CCR numbers have not been that high traditionally, our level 4s and 5s. So to see the upper, 2/5 of the students really performing at a high level was good. On the flip side, we're not happy with not meeting growth, especially in an area that has met growth before or has had higher schools before. So as we always do, we'll dig in, we'll see where we can improve, and hopefully you'll get a better result next year.
I could sit and analyze data and chat with you all for hours about it, but just a couple of observations I've made. When you're looking at the drop in the middle school for the regional comparisons, you see there's a little drop in middle school. If you think about
those students who are in middle school now, the fifth graders that we currently have were first graders during the pandemic COVID year, the 2020 year. So first grade is one of the most foundational grade levels. So we're seeing that starts the fifth grade year. Then you've got your second, third, fourth, fifth graders. Those kids are now in middle school and freshmen in high school. So the three, I would argue that it's not just a singular year that COVID impacted us.
Right.
I would say it's for 3 years. So you have 3 years of academic gaps that have been created, and especially these 4th to 9th graders. So I don't think, if I put on my instructional hat, that's where most of my experience has been for the last 6 years, I don't think we can continue to instruct students and rely on the same instructional strategies we always have. We're gonna have to get in there and differentiate instruction. So we're gonna have to provide for all the levels that are happening in the classroom. So those are some conversations that we're going to be having with principals and teachers moving forward. Because you can't just cast that singular net to hit the one level of students when we have such big gaps and varying levels of instructional needs in one classroom setting. So that's perhaps could be some new learning and a challenge moving forward for a teacher who might not be accustomed to having to juggle that.
I think the other thing I would add to that is that I believe that Ms. Crump's efforts and all the teachers who took letters training, I think we heard about how that training went very well for our teachers, and that they talked about it's basically a graduate course in teaching literacy. And so we're optimistic about the results that will come from that. We're optimistic about math foundations because that is an area that we've been struggling with a little bit in different, I say struggling compared to the people not, but to ourselves. So I think that's another area that'll be bolstered. And the last thing I'm going to make a comment about is if you look at the research, it shouldn't shock you that the more affluent places did better during the pandemic because you've got a lot more access to things like the internet. You've got caring parents who are there every single day pushing their kids. You have, for lack of a better way of saying it, people they could hire to be with their kids on a daily basis, keeping them, there. So if you look at the districts that perform better than us, let's take a look at the affluence in those districts. Chapel Hill, Carborough, are they fairly wealthy? Yeah, probably so. Union County, absolutely. Watauga, absolutely. Not making excuses once again, I'm just saying it seems from a research perspective that those districts who had that level of affluence weathered the storm a little better than we did. Let's face it, we had more than a third of our kids who couldn't get online during the pandemic. So what were they really, engaged in over that time? So I think we have to be careful what message we send our schools and we send our staff members, because I do think they've been working very hard to close these gaps and they've done a great job. By the same token, there's work to be done. And so I think Adrian's comments are very much applicable, but I do want the board to have that context. And it may not even be something that your average person in the community would understand or even want to take the time to understand. But I think it's important for us to make sure that we take all this with a grain of salt and we really do reflect on the data and what are all the nuances to that.
So I know you've seen our EVOS data from last year. We're looking forward to seeing what those results will be in October. But last year, across the boards, elementary, middle, high school, our area of growth was certainly math. So we are very thankful that Ms. Crump orchestrated a great training through Math Foundations, teachers from grades 3 to 5, and we had some middle school and some high school who just elected to volunteer and wanted to come and be a part of it. But they met 5 different times, 5 days.
Actually
K5, that's right. Sorry, I attended some of the 3-5 sessions, but it was K5 with some middle school and high school teachers. That was 5 days throughout the summer and some work days. So I think that participating in that training is just leading into an opportunity to have conversations with teachers about how can we support you in this area of math and use some of those instructional strategies that you learned in Math Foundations. And I have a feeling that when we start investing our efforts and time in our math coursework, because those are the areas where there was the largest deficit within math. So then I think that it will balance out with the great scores that we've had in reading, and we'll see ourselves climb up the leaderboard and that #1 position again. Thank you for your time, and at any time I am available, you can just pick up the phone, give me a call, and I'll sit by you and go through all of it with you.
Any other questions from Ms. Hammond?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Green, I believe we covered 2 bullet points at once there.
We did, sir.
All right.
She was very efficient, sir. Yes, sir.
Those were information only, so thank you again, Ms. Hammond. We appreciate it. Next, we have the overnight field trip proposals. Mr. Green.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. These are typical things that our FFA and Skills USA teams are accustomed to going to. Certainly would endorse them. We do have principal endorsement along with it, and all materials were submitted to me in a timely fashion. We'll make it clear once again that any student who's not able to afford, we do make arrangements for them to be able to participate. And I would offer these 2 for your approval, please.
Any questions for Mr. Green on the field trips?
On the skills one, that they're gonna use camp staff?
Yes. Yep. Yes, sir.
Other questions? This is an actionable item. We'll be looking for a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion also carries 6-0. Moving along now under administrative, we have district website results. Mr. Andy Reinhardt.
Mr. Chair, before Mr. Reinhardt gets up, I'll probably say something afterwards too, but I just want the board to know what a tremendous asset Andy Reinhardt has been and is to Polk County Schools on so many different fronts. But for someone to, this is not his primary job, but for someone to care as much about our kids and our community and what we do on a day-to-day basis is really, really special. So, Andy's become someone, for me especially, he's kind of my therapist. We meet every Monday and he gets to hear all this stuff. I love it. But Andy Reinhardt absolutely believes in what Polk County Schools does, and he believes in our students and our families. And he spent a good portion of his life making sure that we highlight those things. So I'm excited for Andy's presentation today. I just want to say thank you, Andy. I appreciate what you do.
Okay. I also have a lot of data to go through. Before we start, I'm going to go to the next one. The one milestone, this is actually Wednesday, will mark 10 years of Polk sports. It hasn't been associated with Polk County Schools all 10 years. I think we came in year 2 to 2015. But it will mark 10 years of the website since it launched on Friday the 13th. So I guess one of them overcame the battle I could launch on Friday the 13th. So it's been a fun week to look back at a lot of things and talk to a lot of people about the past 10 years. So that's talking to Hawthorne lingo, which was an experience into itself in Brooklyn. So, okay. In 10 years, we've posted 6,025 articles on Polk sports. My Haywood County math education tells me that that's a little over 600 articles a year. And of all the numbers you'll see in this, that's the one I think I'm most proud of. Haywood County English there as well. That's a lot of, that's over 1 point something articles a day, every day for the past 10 years. That's a lot of work, but a lot of help from our coaches. And I want to stress how none of this is possible without the coaches in this district. They send scores, they suggest stories. It really wouldn't happen without them. And I've gotten the utmost cooperation from every coach at every school in this district for 10 years. So they're part of the story of the success of this website. A little over 7,500 photos. Fun fact, I'd never taken a photo in my life until I started this, any kind of published photo. So it's been very much a learning experience, to say the least. 2,900 followers on Facebook and 1,600 with our Instagram account. So, okay. Page views are a number we use in web analytics, which is where my day job is, and it's literally just somebody viewed a page. You looked at the home page, that's a page view. For the past 12 months, the Polk Sports has had 301,000 page views, 74,000 visitors over the past 12 months. We could have a long discussion about how visitors are counted, but that's fairly close. And we had a really big month in August. We had 42,000 page views. That's one of their best months yet. So it was really exciting to see that growth. We talked a lot this summer about how to get the website growing again. It's been fairly flat traffic-wise. Helps when teams are winning. We've had a really good start to the year. That makes a lot of difference. Next. The site, Polk Sports is a member of the Associated Press Sports Editors. APSE has New York Times, ESPN, all these big major websites, and little old Polk Sports in there as well. So it's always fun to see our name listed with all those. We have partnerships with the Tri-Daily Bulletin and the Times News and the Asheville Citizen Times. We send them an email every day of the latest stories on Polk Sports and Polk students. They're free to run any of that they want. The Bulletin makes liberal use of that, as you've probably seen. That was something that Mr. Green and Mr. Miller came up with a few years ago, and it's, I think, proven to be a win-win for everybody. People still like to cut things out of the paper and put them up on the walls. And printing out a web page isn't quite the same impact as that. So it's good that they do use a lot of the content. I'm an old print guy, so I still like to see things in print as well. The photo you see there was a finalist in the APSE contest a couple of years ago. I think that's one Mr. Jackson. Making a game-winning catch. We didn't win, but it was still pretty cool to be recognized with a lot of much larger newspapers. So, Polk Students launched in November of 2015. Not long after the acquisition happened. 1,300 articles to date. That's math I'm not going to try to do in my head at this point. About 5,500 photos. A little bit smaller on the Facebook and Instagram side. The thing to keep in mind, I know Mr. Sherpin and I used to talk about this a lot, or why things are smaller traffic-wise and audience-wise. Sports stories appeal to everybody in the county typically. A lot of the stories on Polk students come from a single classroom. So you may only have the parents in that classroom that really care about that. So as you'll see on the next slide, only 41,000 page views the past 12 months. And that doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but again, you have to remember, so much of the content comes from the classroom teachers themselves. It may not be specific to that classroom. So you've only got a small group of parents interested in that story. When we publish a story that's broadly about the county, like test results or things like that, it gets read just as much as the sports stuff does. Just there's a lot fewer of those kind of things. So, 4,700 page views in August. Again, starting to see that pick up a little bit. I'll talk a minute about one of the reasons why. So, okay. So if you put the two sites together, 7,300 stories in the past 10 years about local athletes and students, about 13,000 photos and roughly 85,000 visitors across the two websites. That's just in the past year. So hopefully getting the word out to a lot of people about the great things that are happening in Polk County schools. Three things we've done in the past few weeks and months to try to grow the audience. We launched an email newsletter. You can sign up and you get the headlines every day, everything posted in the last 24 hours on the website. That's starting to pick up. I think we've got about 150-ish subscribers right now. That contains headlines from Polk Sports and Polk Students and polknc.info, which is the county's news website they have. We pull those in as well. And we're getting ready to do another push to try to get more people to sign up for that. We sent out a refresher this year to all the teachers on how to submit their content for Polk students. Again, most of what you see in Polk students comes from those classroom teachers. They send photos, they send notes. We do a great job of that, and that's the bulk of that content. And we started using a new tool to increase our social media posting, something we're trying out. I'm still getting the hang of that, but hopefully we can post a little more frequently and reach a lot more people with what we do there. I think that's it. If you have any questions, thank you, Coach Charles. That says together we win, if you can't read it. So that's a shirt he's wearing this year.
I thought you meant Coach Charles had questions.
Coach Charles, probably get that question.
Do you still take all the pictures? Who takes the pictures?
Yeah, so I take most of the pictures, yes, and write most of the articles. I do have a man helping me some this year, Jed Blackwell. Jed is a longtime sports writer and reporter in upstate South Carolina. He was most recently the high school sports reporter at the Herald Journal. He's now working for a private company, so he's coming up and he's going to be writing 6 to 8 stories a month. He's a great storyteller and a great feature writer, so we're going to have him doing a lot more features about kids. He's going to talk like to the grade quadruplets next week for a story, or this week for a story. So you're going to see more, not just game stories, which is a lot of what the site is right now. So
I was recently looking at some soccer stories, and the pictures were absolutely beautiful. just really
Same with
sad.
Andy.
Better technology.
Doesn't take long sticking around fields and courts and everything to know that Andy's around a lot. So we appreciate all that you do, sir. Thank you very, very
We
much.
sure do.
Any questions for Mr. Reinhardt?
Mr. Chair, I would just add that, he talks we a lot. He says the word we a lot. What he really means when he says we is Andy. That's what he means. I will say that, once again, I don't know with print media going the way it's going, that our families and students would have the type of coverage of our staff without Andy Reinhardt. And so again, he's just extremely valuable, I think, from a storytelling, a mouthpiece presence when so many people want to only cover dirty laundry. It's nice to have Andy Reinhardt talking about the good things that we're out there doing as student athletes and students in our schools. So again, Andy, can't thank you enough. Thank you for all the time, effort. This guy literally will sit in the back of the van on the way back from a football game and have the story written on his cell phone before he gets home. That's talent. Teachers will send him 3 bullets and a picture, and here's this wonderful article. So he can be as humble as he wants, but you're talking about a journalistic genius who we just happen to be lucky enough to have working with us here at Polk County Schools. So thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary. Thank you, sir.
All right, still under administrative, we now have the state budget update. Mr. Green.
I would love to tell you that the two sides of the legislature, who are both of the same party, decided it would be a good idea to pass a budget, but as you know, that's not the case. Right now, the latest thing I heard today was that we were still talking about casino and gambling, and that was the holdup on the state budget, is that the Senate wants this, maybe the House doesn't, vice versa. Anyway, long story short, I'm not hearing any specific rumblings about things we should be concerned about. I don't think there'll be substantial amount of money for schools in there. I think they're going to continue to make cuts, and they're going to continue to shift funding to vouchers and those things. But obviously the small school supplemental funding is huge to us. We're still hearing decent news on that front. And poor old Ms. Lovelace and all of our staff out there who are trying to get things done, trying to give step increases, trying to make sure teachers are aware of what they're going to make this year, we still can't give them good answers. So here we are, almost a month into school, still not knowing what kind of money we're going to have or what kind of situation there's going to be for us going forward. So you need that update. You deserve that update. You certainly can go on NCSBA. You know, they do a great job of updating some of that stuff from a legislative standpoint, but we are optimistic, but not overly optimistic about having that by mid-October. Just wanted to keep you updated.
Good questions for Mr. Green. All right, also information only. We'll move along then to old business, Mr. Green.
Yes, sir. Dr. Schweitzer, do you want to talk about the TES edition at all, or we decided not to do that this time?
I certainly can if you'd like.
No. I mean, I think it's on pace, but it's kind of, Dr. Schweitzer kind of talked about a little bit about the edition that we would see a lull about this time of year. So that's where we're at there. I will say a big thank you to Dr. Schweitzer and Darren Green for the little, y'all might have gotten a call about Tryon Elementary not having any AC. So Darren Green jumping on that, he actually ran a motor to Hickory to get it rebuilt and brought it back so we got the AC up working again in a couple of days. So we've got a few fans, but other than that, I don't think there's anything else necessarily.
No, and I think Mr. Green won't say it, but he also needs to be said that when all the AC went out, he didn't bat an eye, jumped in his van, drove to Spartanburg, and bought as many 30-inch fans as he could to make sure our kids were taken care of. So I think that's good for you guys to hear that kind of thing going on. It's just the evidence of the collective effort that we all pitch in when things go south to try to take care of our students. On the Tryon Elementary side, there's no real major updates other than what's good for you guys to hear is the project is exactly on schedule, which is absolutely fantastic. You don't often hear that about construction projects. Moving along nicely, we are hitting a little bit of a lull right now where you're not seeing a lot of activity, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes with some rough ends and some different things happening inside. What you'll most likely see from me in the coming months is I'll bring some pictures back to you about some of the brickwork and the final roofing going up on the outside. It'll be another big push of, ooh, everyone will see like the visuals going on, and then things will slow back down again as we move some of that work to the interior.
That's it for old business.
All right. Any questions on anything about the TES update? All right, then we'll move along to new business. Mr. Green, any new business?
I think the first thing I would throw at you is if there is a board member that is particularly interested in being the voting delegate, which means you have to drive down to TSBA and be a part of that in Raleigh, that's not something guys we have done a lot of since Mr. Tennant passed, but obviously if you want somebody to be a part of that, you're welcome to do so. Anybody chomping at the bit.
Mr. Tennant do it, he went himself?
He always did. But again, I don't know that they've had any type of really substantial votes recently. I think more and more the legislature has kind of pulled that power away from the State Board of Education and the School Board Association as well. But again, we throw it out there. I'll tell you this, Mr. Ashworth, if there is a board member who's interested in being a voting delegate, you can call Ms. Odell, let her know, and we'll get you signed up. But that needs to be done sooner than later, right? Because that vote's coming up October. Yeah. Again, not something that we've done in the past few years. I don't think it's essential necessarily. Most of our governing takes place here in this county, in this community. So it's up to you guys.
Anybody chomping at the bit that wants to do it? You can sign me up as a deal. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ashford.
I believe the form is actually in your to be signed folder.
Good deal. There you go. Oh, me. Any other new business?
Yes, sir. I wanted you to know anytime I enter into any type of discussion with a potential partner, I want you to be aware of it. And also think this has impacted families, so you may hear about it from the community. Because we had two 21st century after-school grants, we were able to serve more students last year, and we really didn't have a huge waiting list. When we went back down to one grant this year, that obviously impacts us from a funding perspective, and so we've had to prioritize things a little more. So we've left ourselves a waiting list of somewhere between 75 and 100 kids spread out all over the county. I've gotten some calls from some parents who obviously we prioritize academic need, we prioritize financial need in terms of who gets placement in those spots. But we have heard that there is a group of folks who might be willing to have a for-pay option or a tuition-based option. And so I have been in conversations with the YMCA about could they use their existing model that they do very well and help supplement what we're doing at our school sites. Give you an example. Kids in the after-school program at Tryon Elementary wouldn't see any difference other than there's more kids there. But we would know that this group of kids is actually a tuition-based group for people who demonstrate financial need. It can be they can do half price. Some of you can pay full price, we can charge you full price. But that way we can at least give some options for some families out there. So just wanted you to be aware of that. It's trying to address the need in our community. We don't have the funding, so it would require that there be some payment. But if you think about our pre-K program, it's a lot like that. We use Title I, we use Head Start, we use local money, and we use tuition-based. So in that similar vein, we wanted to try to provide an option if we can. And right now it's looking like we're going to be able to pull it off. For your working families, I had a lady tell me that she paid $30 an hour to have somebody come and sit with her child. So I'll guarantee you she's going to be willing to pay the $70 a month that we would charge you for after school, or even week, if you think about it. So I just want you to know those conversations are going on, and whatever we do, I'll make sure the board stays informed about that. I also wanted you to know, in case you heard from parents, that yes, there is a need and a gap out there for after-school care, just as there is 0 to 3 care. And I'm going to say this not to be anything except for honest about our mission in Polk County Schools is to provide a K-12 education to students. So anything outside of that mission takes our resources and stretches us a little bit thin. So having partners like the YMCA that are willing to step up and do that is almost a necessity because we don't have the bandwidth or the capacity to do all those things on our own. So just want to put that out.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Green on that?
The band program wanted me to extend an invitation to you. Obviously, they love for folks to be at the Friday night football games. Their band competition is on October 14th. And anybody that would like to go, I can get you more information, and I'll have her send that information out to you once it's finalized, times and everything else. But we'd love to have some folks show up at the band competition as well, and because they're always out there supporting our athletic teams. So I'll throw that out to you. Last thing, Mr. Chair, is not really new business, but I do want to recognize Brandy Drake, who's working on a leadership degree, and she gets the wonderment of coming and experiencing a governance board meeting for us. Brandy Drake is a longtime successful, very successful educator with us, takes great care of the kids up in Saluda that she works with, and I'm excited that she's embarked on a leadership pathway. I think she'll be a great leader for us in the future. So thank you, Brandy.
Thank you for being here.
I believe that is it, sir.
All right. Under information, we have the preschool monthly report, the pre-K financial report, monthly financial report, and the year-to-date credit card report. We also have NCSBA offering optional board training, 2023-2024 NCSBA video library, the 2023 Fall Law Conference in Asheville, October the 11th through the 13th, and then the annual conference in Greensboro, November the 13th through the 15th. I do not believe we have any public input.
I didn't have anybody signed up.
So with that being said, I'm going to be looking for a motion to move into closed session.
For personnel and school safety.
School safety. All right. Purposes of personnel and school safety.
I so moved. A second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, folks.
Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you guys coming and being with us tonight and being supportive of our kids and our programs. Thank you.